Good afternoon, everyone. Just going to wait, give it like a couple more minutes because I know we have a lot of people joining today. But thank you all for joining. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. Again, I want to just say thank you guys so much for your interest and for joining the presentation to learn more about entering the US market. And just some housekeeping. Um, sorry, just admitting that might happen throughout more people. Oh, yep, a lot more people are joining now. So yeah, so thank you. So I do have everyone on mute, and I will. You can unmute, but I'm going to have questions that will come on at the end. We'll have an open Q&A session. So if you have any questions, let's hold those to the end. You can either put them in the chat, or you can ask me when you unmute yourself at the end of the presentation. So thanks again, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, so as you all are aware, you okay. So today we're discussing introduction to the U.S. market, specifically opportunities for Caribbean MSMEs. So who is Purposely Rise? Who are we? Why are we coming to you today? So we have a wonderful partnership with Sandyford Edwards, who I know all of you know. And so we were given the opportunity to have a conversation with all of you as you are all business owners looking to ultimately expand your product base into the US. And that is where we are focused on helping businesses throughout the world come into the US market. So our model is centered around, oops, sorry, empowering businesses to expand, connect, and thrive across markets through education. So we are really committed to seeing businesses win and accessing new markets. And at Purposely Rise, our mission is to empower SMEs to navigate and excel in new markets, whether you're tackling the complexities of the US or exploring emerging opportunities in Africa or the Caribbean or South America or new areas of interest. We recognize the unique challenges and opportunities that come with market expansion, and we're here to guide you through every step. So as you see here, it's a blended logo, Purposely and Rise Enterprise. So Purposely is an online e-commerce platform. You guys probably saw some of the products that they offer in the emails that were sent out, but really focusing on supporting creators around the world to be able to enter the US market through their e-commerce site and platform. And these companies specifically have mission oriented organizations. So they're focused on sustainability, giving back to their communities, economic development, a lot of different factors that are better or bigger than themselves, but ultimately for the greater good. And Rise, I'll talk a little bit about myself, is my company, Rise Enterprise Group. And Rise really focuses on customer development. So helping MSMEs really understand who their target customer or consumer is, and really helping to be able to drive growth in sales by understanding who their true audience is and how to really best connect with them. So a little bit about me. I'm American. I'm from Kansas. So if you stick your finger in the middle of America, that is where I'm from, little town called Lawrence, Kansas. I went to college and studied marketing, and then I went back to school later and I studied international development and foreign policy. And after receiving my degree, I was able to work at Colgate Palmolive, a subsidiary called Hills Palmolive, where I really led uh, the business growth across the US for small businesses, but also larger retailers in their execution of launching new stores, understanding product development, product mix. So I have real almost a decade of experience working directly with retailers across the US and understanding their issues and really being a problem solver and helping them understand how to change their product mix, grow sales, innovation, all the things that engage with retail environment management. I've lived around the world, spent time in Belgium, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and Nigeria. And that has really given me perspective to really help support MSMEs around the world. And whether or not they were launching to come to the US, but launching a brand, launching a business, looking to grow their SKU count. So I'm familiar with working with different cultures, different currencies, different communication styles to really see businesses succeed. And one of my favorite quotes from a Greek philosopher is around, we don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training. And I completely believe that it's through our preparation, through our work, especially around the scope of new market entry, that we can really see how we can achieve our results. It's not accidental. It is through preparation and investment in our time and resources and the right things to really see our dreams, our business goals come to fruition. So before we dive into the US market, I think it would behoove me to start the conversation around understanding the value, because one commonality I've seen in working with businesses around the world is through social media, through media, people have a perception of upon entering the US market, things are going to be an automatic success. And while I wish that was true, even for us American business owners, it's actually quite a certain level of investment, not just of money, but also around time. So I want to say that getting your product into America is a big green check in itself. That is a big accomplishment because you've gone through the regulations, your labels are up to date, you have everything that you need. But what is just as important is understanding the pricing, positioning, and competition of the market that you're choosing to enter, and understanding that the US is not a monolith. We'll discuss that in a minute. Also, understanding sales and distribution channels. Are you looking at one? Who is your target market? What do they look like where they shop? What are their behaviors? What models do they have so you can approach them, virtually meet them where they are? And that extends itself to branding and marketing. Is your branding, does it make sense for an international dynamic audience? How are you having conversations with them? So making sure that all of these different things are checked off, and also being understanding and flexible that businesses change regardless of if you're an international entrepreneur coming in the US or an American entrepreneur in the US. There's constant innovation, there's constant changes in the marketplace. So being able to be nimble and be prepared to be able to tackle the different ebbs and flows of the business environment are essential. And I think I included this quote here because I think that it is incredibly important, from Mark Harris. He's the CEO at Export Barbados. And I think this is incredibly applicable to your businesses. He stated that a product must bring a value proposition to the market that transcends the nationality of its home market. In the context of food, a Caribbean food brand should not just sell Caribbean food to Caribbean people. It should sell high value food, whether Caribbean or otherwise, an experience that connects to its market. So I think this is incredibly important because the brands that I featured here today are two Jamaican owned businesses that really got it right. They know that only, I think it's about 7% in the United States of the population are of Caribbean descent. So 7% of over, 330 million people is a large number, but it presents a huge opportunity to be able to tap into a broader audience and create an experience for those other 93% of the population to experience the products that you guys have and are looking to bring to the market. So Pepitry it's in the name. It's a spice company, and they've created different spice variations that are authentic to the Jamaican brand, and also have created innovation around spice offerings that are an easier, like lower hanging fruit, I would say, to introduce to other people who are not Jamaican or from the Caribbean islands. So different in terms of levels of heat, maybe that you could experience. Hibiscus Brew has also done similar innovation in their sorrel. I know sorrel is not only Jamaican, but also being able to find the innovation, the nuances that allow you to present a different type of beverage into the US market. So I want you to go into this conversation with that mindset of, yes, you've created these beautiful, wonderful products, food, chocolate, oils, skincare that are unique to your home, but how can you create those tailored experience to a different audience? So keep that in your mind as we proceed. So next, I want to do a little bit of a myth buster quickly, dispelling common misconceptions for international SMEs. So the first myth is that the U.S. market is one large uniform marketplace, and that could not be further from the truth. That's like saying that the Caribbean is a continent, which is not fair to the diversity of the different countries, and even in any other continent like Canada or Mexico, considering North America. So, but one thing that is great in understanding that is being able to find the different opportunities that exist by the different segmentations across the US market. So there's regional preferences, as in southern states often have different tastes of food and condiments compared to the Northeast. A hot sauce that's popular in Texas might not gain traction in New England. I mean, if you think about, there's certain stereotypes that we can play into. South is more savory with different types of sauces. The Northeast, thinking Boston. I won't include New York because that's its own bubble, but thinking fresh seafood, not as savory compared to California, which, organic, vegan. So depending on your geographic reach that you're thinking for your business, that will play a role. And also to consider that there's regulatory variations. So every state has unique laws on labeling, product safety, and taxes. For example, California has stricter environmental regulations that may impact packaging requirements. Like if you are, for example, if you're shopping in California, if you don't use a reusable shopping bag, you will be charged a fee because they have plastic. They're not using single-use plastic for shopping bags anymore. So being aware based off of your thinking of entering the new market is incredibly important in how that will impact your costs. So another myth number two, high quality products will sell themselves. Again, we kind of touched on that a little bit. Even the best products need strong branding and marketing to succeed in the competitive US market, which is ever so true. US consumers value clear messaging about why a product is unique and better than alternatives. So it's really showing up and letting people know not just what separates you from your competition, but who you are and being authentic to your branding and understanding how that relates to your target market. So we'll talk a little bit more about some packaging in a little bit. But the last several mythbusters that I want to dispel is that entering the US market is prohibitively expensive. So yes, it can be incredibly costly for SMEs to enter, any business to enter the US market. There's ways to do it incrementally. So you can start small, sell through online platforms like Amazon or Etsy to test consumer demand. I would not jump off and necessarily start with Amazon, especially for unique food or skincare products. I think there's other platforms available out there that will give you more awareness versus being in a pool of, I don't know how many millions of vendors or probably billions of products that are on that site. So it's making sure that you find what makes sense for your business. And what's key around this is leveraging partnerships, working with US-based distributors or import-export organizations to reduce logistical and marketing costs. So I'll talk a little bit more about Purposely later and the distribution model that Purposely has to be able to support MSMEs that have products to be able to enter the US market. And then we'll also talk a little bit about trade events as well. So myth, US consumers only care about low prices. Many US consumers are willing to pay a premium for products that align with their values or offer unique experiences. So there's US customers are incredibly price sensitive, but that does not mean that they're only looking for low prices. What we're looking for is value in what we're purchasing. So if you can show that value, then people will come and they will pay for it. So that is the balance with that. It's not about having the cheapest price ever, because with cheap there's also a loss in value. So it's making sure that there is that balance. And then the last myth I want to discuss is international brands can't compete with established US brands. So US consumers, especially probably in the last 5 years or so, are becoming more and more interested and excited to taste different food products, experience different skincare. The whole Korean skincare phenomenon that's been going here. People put snail mucus on their face, right? So people are looking for, especially Americans, different products that traditionally the larger retailers, not just retailers, larger like Kimberly Clark or Procter and Gamble, to name a few, can't quickly adjust and create new product mixes. That creates an opportunity for small businesses to be able to come in and set the standard and provide options that US consumers are looking for. And I would say since COVID, there has been definitely a national concerted effort to really support small women-owned, minority, international different product mixes throughout the US in big box stores like Target. So, but before we go into that mindset, it's also making sure that what you can produce, that your supply chain is able to meet the demand of working with those larger national retailers. So we'll talk a little bit about starting slow and then building. Okay, so today we're now going to get in more of the meat of it, the course objectives. So by the end of this session today, you will understand key market opportunities in the US, insights into US consumer behavior and trends, and get key actionable steps to start your market entry journey, and how to overcome common barriers and leverage resources for success. So, the US market landscape overview of the US economy, consumer trends, and the opportunity for Caribbean businesses. So, overview of the US economy. So, market snapshot is the population is about 331 million people as of the 2023 census data. And we have a high consumer spending power. The median household income is about $70,000 annually. And we are diverse market with demand for niche, ethnic, and unique products that I mentioned before. So, what does that mean around US consumers? So, the US is the largest consumer market globally. And in terms of revenue, the US accounted for 17.7% of the global ethnic food market in 2024 and is only expected to grow. So country-wise, US is expected to lead the global market in terms of revenue by 2030. And the US ethnic food market generated a revenue of about 25 billion in 2024 and is expected to reach USD 145 billion by 2030 with a CAGR of 7.22%. So you can see that there is a significant not just level of investment, but significant level of interest amongst US consumers looking for products like yours. And even depending on how you position that, right? When we're looking at this macro information, there's even more segmentation that can be done. So thinking about chocolate, skincare, bread products, right? So there's all these different mini macro and then micro segments that you can look at that really will allow you to look at the full potential of the opportunity. And that is something that Purposely Rise does in terms of creating trainings around understanding how to break down those different segments to understand, well, really, where is my customer and how do I speak with them? Because we're all about, especially spending resources of time and money, is how can you target it best so you are leveraging your tools and resources to create the best results. That's ultimately what we are all looking to do. Then lastly, geographically, there is variation in consumption patterns, like we talked about. California, New York, and Florida, for example, are leading the demand due to diverse populations and higher access to international cuisines. So that is definitely very true. And so I'm sure some of you know some of your businesses are already exporting into the US. I think on some of your websites. I'm not sure if it's through, I think some are direct to consumer, and it looks like some are also wholesale models. So I'm curious to see if this is similar to what you are seeing, California, New York, and Florida, or if you're seeing more kind of like centralized in the US, because there also is slower growth that we're seeing in the Midwest in terms of interest in international brands or ethnic cuisines as well. So, US consumer trends. There are a lot of different interest for American consumers, I would say. Ever evolving, always looking as this. If you've been to the US, it definitely feels different than all the different places that I've visited across the world in terms of level of consumerism, in terms of level of commercials that you watch, all the information that you receive is all towards a culture of buying, of having, of experiencing different brands, different products, and how those experiences benefit your life. With all of that said, in that same thread, with consumerism, the US really has seen a shift in the interest of American consumers wanting to purchase more sustainably and ethically. So again, with the California example of the banning of the single-use plastic bags, that is trickling into how people want to buy their products. So is it in a glass bottle? Is it recyclable? Are the people that are manufacturing your products, are they getting paid fair wages? People want to know, and they want to feel like they are a part of the process of their purchase going to support these good for you, good for the earth, good for the community initiatives and programs. And what's interesting is some of you guys heard of the pink tax. I'm not sure if it exists also in the Caribbean, but it's where, unfortunately, that retailers typically add an additional tax or charge more for women products. So what you'll find also in sustainability and ethical sourcing is that these products typically go for a little bit more, and that the retailers are typically making a little bit of a higher margin around them. So that means for you, in terms of pricing, that could be if you have pricing tiers or a lot of different types of products, you can have your sustainable or ethical sourcing more as a higher margin type of product. So just in terms of thinking about how you want to have your product segmentation, or what does that mean if your company has these, it's, being able to understand the pricing based off of competition, and how does that fit within the mold for sustainable and ethical products within the US. So in the same thread, we're worried about the environment, how our products impact the communities where they're produced, also care about ourselves in the sense of health and wellness. So looking for organic, natural products, how can we, what we ingest, what we put on our skin, how is that going to best serve our bodies? So if you have products that align around that, it can even be around salt, that can even be around sourdough bread, making sure that it's highly digestible. All of these things are selling points and are what American consumers are looking for, and looking for in you, in terms of different unique types of products that you can't just find everywhere or have been around for 20 years. People are looking for fresh innovation and new businesses to be able to support, especially around SMEs. Convenience, e-commerce and prepackaged ready-to-use goods are booming. There's been a massive growth and will continue to be growth in e-commerce, with over 20% of retail sales happening online. And the same thing can be said for m-commerce, which is virtually mobile e-commerce. So pretty much, you can't see it because of the background, but I was holding up my phone to say that mobile sales, like through Instagram or people buying on their phones, or Facebook, or LinkedIn, is growing exponentially. So being able to provide that solution, which ultimately is, there's no barriers for entry. Anybody can access your brand, be able to make a purchase no matter where they are. And I think that's also good in your consideration for if you're not looking to do direct to consumer. If you're looking to do with a retailer, making sure those retailers can also access customer base just as easily to be able to drive sales and create awareness for your brand. So next is pricing sensitivity driven by competition. However, also, as we talked about before, it's also driven by value and quality as well. So making sure you've done your due diligence with benchmarking to understand, based off of your cost to produce and then also export, what pricing does that make sense for you, and also your internal margins. But Americans are price sensitive, but if it's a quality product with a brand initiative or values that aligns with them, they are willing, we will pay for it. We will pay for it. Product innovation. With imports, consumers are also drawn to innovative and unique offerings, as we discussed. Companies that can offer products with cutting edge technology, design, or features have a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Product availability, this is a big one. Being able to, again, access the products, knowing that it's available, knowing that it can ship to them and be there within, a very short amount of time. Actually, talking about distribution, there's a lot of micro distributors opening up around the country, which are allowing people to be able to ship and receive products in fastest time as ever. I mean, even now, Amazon here, I could place an order for a bottle of water today, and I'll have an option, if not for it to come later today, between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. between 4 a.m. excuse me, and 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So retailers here are understanding that people are pretty much used to getting things now. So working with a distributor, your direct to consumer, your retailer is able to provide those solutions to appease your customers is essential. And lastly, but not the least, probably one of the most important ones around consumer trends are consumer reviews. everybody wants to know how someone has experienced the product if it's the first time that they are using it. So the more you can lean into that onto your social media, sharing testimonials, into your product segmentation on your e-commerce site, if it's stars or if it's written reviews, making sure, because people look to those to make a decision if it's a product they have not tried before, that should not be underestimated. So ultimately what this means for your business is emphasizing your product origin story and health benefits, and ease of access for your consumer, and invest in attractive, informative packaging that tells a story. So that's, for example, is when you're in a retail location and someone is not in front of you or they're not online, to be able to take in your brand without you being there. So, what are the opportunities specifically for the Caribbean businesses? So, as we already mentioned a few times over, and I'm sure you are already aware of it by now, but consumers are searching for businesses, especially SMEs like yours, that produce unique, healthy, and sustainably made goods. Most of the businesses in the US, I think over 99%, are small, medium sized businesses. And we did a training at the end of last year around the SME businesses in the holiday market. And over 85% of US consumers were searching specifically for SMEs, small, medium sized businesses that they wanted to support and buy unique products from for over the holidays. So knowing that, it really behooves us to meet people where they are, and that is you. So making sure you have everything you need to be able to be prepared to come to the US market, to really engage with these consumers who are looking for you, is essential. So the demand for Caribbean products includes but is not limited to spices, sauces, condiments that appeal to adventurous eaters, natural skincare, clean, organic, and exotic ingredients. So virtually anything that is new that Americans are looking for and are interested to try. Yeah. So key steps to entering the US market. So understanding your target customer, compliance and regulations, building your market entry strategy. So understand your target consumer. So this is a big part of understanding the US market. I know that I've touched on it, and that the US market is not a monolith. There's regional different differences, there's income, there's age, generational differences. But even before that, you have to understand who your customer is. So depending on your distribution method or sales strategy, you might have two customers. You might have a retailer who is looking, I'll use Target an example. Target may be your customer, right? It's your retailer. And then you will have a consumer or your end user, which is the shopper that comes into Target. So with that, you really have to understand the different type of buyer persona each one of those buyers has or experiences with your brand. And that extends to pricing, to behavioral, go further down to firmographic, the revenue, how they interact within the marketplace as a retailer, as a consumer and user, their demographics, their psychographics, how your prospects are thinking about certain things, and behavioral. What signals can you identify in the market that they're actually doing? So it really is having a well-rounded approach in terms of understanding who they are and how you approach them. So one way that you can do that is to conduct surveys or focus groups, and that isn't meant to be something massive. It could even be an online, like, social experiment where you post questions to your audience. These are things that you can pay for. I have a logo for them later, but there's a company called Razi, which is a startup here that focuses on supporting companies and doing market testing on the ground, right? So it doesn't always have to be a significant investment to understand who's my potential target audience, because in this case, if you're new, it will start off as a hypothesis, and then being able to break down who that is as you engage and gather more data. So, and that includes using tools like Google Trends or social media analytics to compare current customer profiles with consumer trends in the US, again, to build up a hypothesis. So I wouldn't say disregard your proof of concept or the sales that you've been making in your current environments. I think that there may be some similarities there that you can use to initially extrapolate, but from that, be open to learning adjusting and being nimble to adjust based off of your consumer findings to make changes into who your market is and what they are looking for in terms of pricing, what attracts them in terms of branding or in terms of storyline, for both the retailer and the consumer. And they will, and have no fear, they will both tell you. So it's not a matter of if you will know, you will be told because you won't make any sales, or they will be asking for more information, or they will come in droves looking for more and more products, to grow your business. So I just wanted to share this in terms of a standard or like a template for understanding your target customer or customers, depending on your model. If you're direct to consumer, if you're going through a retailer, so this can be tailored to your environments. This is more of a tech example, and I'll just quickly go through this. So ideal customer profile for company ABC, target market separate segment, excuse me, B2B enterprise company with 1,000 employees, has a budget of X, and where they're located. So their verticals, like what do they focus on within their organization? Do they have any pain points? So for you, if you are maybe selling bread goods, there might be an opportunity where in a retailer they're not really selling biscuits, and so that is your product. So you go and you present that this is the gap, this is where I see the trends in the market based off of selling my biscuits. And St. Lucia, this is what we're seeing in terms of growth. So you actually have a story that is tied to a problem within that current retailer. And so making sure that it all ties back into their problem statement and how you can solve that for them. And the same thing can be done for a customer, right? So if you're going back to the bread example, if you're doing biscuits, understanding what biscuits are in the marketplace, what are they offering, but what is it that you bring to the table in terms of like storyline? Are your biscuits made with local organic flour that your grandmother taught you, and that have a specific spice that is unique to your country and want to introduce it in the US? So it's about telling that story and offering a competitive price that engages people. Maybe there's a health benefit. Kudos to that, where these are like carb free and help your skin, like there's collagen. I don't know. But it's about finding the ways in which your target market understanding you can attract and grow and be able to sell. And this is virtually in a nutshell called a buyer persona. So you're able to break it out in different segmentations, their demographics, the goals and objectives of your different buyer persona, retail or direct to consumer, their biggest challenges, their role in the buying purchases, and information sources. So where are they going to gather their information? So virtually, ultimately, having all this information allows you to best target your end user, your customer, to make it a better streamlined process to be able to sell your product, because that's ultimately what we're doing. So looking at compliance and regulations, this is not a space that Purposely Rise is an expert in terms of being able to tell you what documents that you need to fill out, who to roll it up to, and how long the process takes. But it is a key part, and we have key partners like Agate Solutions that provide insight into the necessary steps that you need to do for food products, for cosmetic and skincare regulations, for labeling, and having efficacy claims if it's clinically trialed. If you're saying something, it can do something in like the next 30 days. There's a litany of processes that you have to follow to make sure that you are in alignment with the not just certifications, but the regulations within the US government. And so I highly suggest, I think maybe it was last year, I think there was a training with labeling and FDA offered by CAPA, by your program. And so, I would lean into those resources or lean into Agate or other compliance experts to really be able to find your way, because that will be incredibly important, especially if you're looking to do mass retail, or if you're importing flour, if you're importing dried goods. You will need all those compliance and regulations on your products. So the next part is around building your go-to-market strategy. So this again is kind of putting everything together, and when you're coming into the US market, of all the different touch points you need to make sure that you have checked off to successfully enter to successfully enter the U.S. market to drive your sales. So, as we've already mentioned, competitive analysis and market research. That's the baseline of what needs to be done to understand where you need to make your investment, with who and how. Choosing your distribution channels, e-commerce, specialty stores, or mainstream retail, all of these different decisions will have different impacts in terms of how you are addressing your end user and the different costs that will come associated in terms of your interaction with selling your product. So with that is understanding your product segmentation, setting competitive pricing aligned with competition and market expectations. Um, and understanding that if you have a portfolio of products, what does that look like? Because if you have different products, they will likely attract different customers. And so making sure that you have different branding or messaging that aligns with all of that. In sales and marketing, customer journey and conversion, all of that comes back to how are you understanding your customer's interaction with your brand to ultimately convert them into a customer. So I just added this fun chart here that kind of puts all of that into a nutshell in terms of the steps, like 1 through, what is that, 7, 1 through 4 here. So you can visually kind of see what that would look like. And then on here over to the right, I put a little chart because we've talked about price sensitivity from a consumer perspective, but if you're looking at retailer, distributor, or even wholesale, I wanted to share there was a survey done by Deloitte last year for about 250 executives at different retail establishments across the US. And it was around the theme of understanding, 2023, 2022, there was a lot of issues with price and inflation, and there still are. But retailers got to a point of saying, we can no longer cut or squeeze our suppliers anymore. We need to find other ways in which we can make money. So you'll see that the question is, it takes a combination of price, volume, and product mix to drive profitable growth, knowing that each component is important. Which of the three will receive the most emphasis in your strategy for 2024? And the response was raise price was 2%, because that price sensitivity, Americans, this period of inflation, are incredibly sensitive to the price increases. And I'm sharing this to say that what to look out at in terms of priorities for retailers is increased unit volume because they're looking to sell more products. But most importantly, they're looking to shift a mix to more profitable products and pack sizes. So what that says for you in terms of opportunity is that retailers are looking for ways in which they can have higher margin products, which might behoove you because of the specialization of the products that you have to sell in the US market. So that is big because traditionally in retailers, it's a penny profit business, but they're saying now that they're looking for more margin across the board and a better product mix to do that. So if that's something that your products can offer to a retailer while passing on a competitive price to be able to sell through a lot for the consumer, you're definitely in a winning space and you're entering the US market. So looking at setting up distribution channels, there's a couple of different ways in which you can, distribute within the U.S. There's e-commerce or direct to consumer. There's direct selling, which is virtually you showing up at different trade shows, pop-ups at different regional markets. Those are also very impactful. They also take up time and are costly because you have to show up and or hire, marketing or sales consultants to be able to do that for you. There's retail wholesale options and specialty stores like Whole Foods, ethnic grocery chains like H Mart, Fiesta Mart, like Latin stores, or through wholesale, you're selling wholesale and someone else is putting their name, like a private label, on the product. And so a couple that I want to call out, Amazon, we've discussed, but I think for your businesses, as I see them, I could be wrong. I would say it's not an ideally best place to start. There's Etsy, which focuses on artisan and niche products. And there's also Purposely, which I'll talk a little bit about more. And then there's also other platforms like SP, the Savory Pantry, which is specific a online store where you can go and find different products from around the world and really be able to build a cart of different flavor profiles. And there's other businesses out there that that allow you to pay a monthly fee to get a box at the end of every month. Purposely also has this as well of different types of foods from around the world. So you're introduced to different brands, different stories. You know, every taste tells a story. So there's a lot of different ways in which you can enter the market. You just have to decide who, again, centered around your customer and what you're able to afford. How do I best reach them, and how will my investment be impactful to reach them? So, and then lastly, it's around logistics. You can partner with freight forwarders throughout the US. You consider warehousing options in key markets. Again, going back to New York, Miami, or even California, what works best for you. But geographically, New York, Miami are much closer. And what's great about this is that you get to move, as in most things, at your own pace. So suggestion is to start with small regional markets to test your supply and demand before scaling nationally, because the last thing you want to do is bite off before you can chew. Because let me tell you, if you go to a major retailer, regional or national, and they're sold, but you cannot produce the supply, that's it. You don't really get another chance. So it really is about being able to build up your momentum to be able to manage the larger orders with the larger retailers, if that is your goal. So there's have no fear in starting small. You can get down to the minutia. You can get all of the information to really be able to tailor your product to your customers and really be able to grow and find the right pathway for success. So, marketing your brand is incredibly important in the US. And again, going back to the Jamaican examples that I provide at the beginning of the presentation, it's making sure that your homegrown brand is nationally recognizable and understood based off of the American values and your values in the US. And so making sure that there is that through line for people to be able to make that connection between the two. And that includes transparency about sourcing and production. It goes back to the sustainable method, and also about the health connection as well. Stories that connect emotionally, handcrafted by artisans in the Caribbean. If it's made by your grandmother's recipe, all of those things matter. Customer reviews, referrals, massive supporting for SMEs in the US, quality value, stellar customer service. So all of these things packaged together need to be included in the messaging where you show up online and on your packaging. So that investment is significant and is very important. So what does that look like in terms of digital marketing? So it's making sure that you position your website and social media platforms to be tailored to your customers for storytelling success. So that means not necessarily you have to be on every single platform. It's meeting your customer where they are. And that might mean you just need to be on Instagram, or does that mean you need to be on LinkedIn if you're doing more of a B2B? Or is it, TikTok and Instagram if your consumer is Gen Z, like chocolate, that will be determined, or if it's your skincare line, that will be determined by your product and what you've seen. So it really is meeting people where they are and creating consistent brand interaction and communication, because people are always looking, and when they do come to look for you, and you want to make sure that it's up to date and relevant to what they are looking for, and it also gives them the space to interact with you, because that is what brands want to do. Oops. So overcoming challenges, I'm going to quickly wrap up. This will all be available to you guys. But as you are probably all aware of, the challenges for entering new markets around high costs, high logistic costs, shipping and warehousing, cultural differences in business practices, competition from established brands. But that does not mean that it's impossible. It's all possible if you are able to do the work and understand what that looks like by creating the right partnerships to help guide you in the correct direction, and to be able to go at your own pace, the pace that makes sense for you and your business. So again, starting small with niche markets and pilot programs to reduce risk, cease mentorship and leverage partnerships like your CAPA program that you are a part of, but also through initiatives like Purposely Rise, and leverage grants or export assistance programs for funding. So what does that look like in terms of resources and support? So you already know that through this training session at Purposely Rise, we have more training sessions, online tools for market research. So again, you don't have to be in country. to be able to gather the data. There's tools like IBIS World, Nielsen, Google Trends, our consensus data. There's companies like Statista that have fantastic information online, Razi as well. Who else? Deloitte. There's so many different freemium as well market research options out there. It's just knowing how to leverage and use the data as best for yourself. The other part of Purposely Rise, the work that I do as well, go to market consulting for micro, small, medium-sized businesses. There's also a good network of community builders for Caribbean businesses in the US. I'm not sure if you guys have heard for Caribbean Network. So they offer business center for Caribbean businesses in the US, which looks like a fantastic tool. And they also provide shopping as well, e-commerce. There's also another network called Nudge, which does similar work for Caribbean businesses, specifically in the US. So it's all about being able to ask the right questions, discover the right resources to really engage with you in a partnership to make this happen, because you won't do this on the island. That if anything, let this be that's not possible, and you don't want it to be, because you will pay more, you will lose more trying to do it by yourself. And then once you are in the US, there's Small Business Association, which provides invaluable tools and resources for small businesses across the US. So there are lots of networks of support. So don't be afraid of asking for help or reaching out, not just to Purposely Rise or myself, but to the different networks or associations that I've shared here. And I know that these aren't the only ones, right? There's more out there. And if you ask and someone doesn't know, they'll likely be able to point you in the direction of somewhere else. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up now. So I just want to share a little bit around the power of Purposely. So Purposely is the partner company owned by Ricardo Barris, my business partner with Purposely Rise. And Purposely really is an online platform to support creators with purpose-driven brands. And so I just want to share a little bit with you about them. They have a network of about 30,000 and growing newsletter database of customers. So if you're on their platform, they send details or information about the different creators and their companies on a regular basis to this list of potential consumers to drive them to the website to experience your brand. They have an influencer network that they partner with to really be able to amplify the message of your brand, because it's bigger than just having the product here in a warehouse in the US. It's how do you market? How do you actively talk to your consumer base? And we are not only looking for you to have your brand on Purposely. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shared the Caribbean network, right? We're also wanting to support you because we believe a omni-channel methodology is best to get your product in front of as many different people as possible. So that's why we also have over 21,000 database of active retailers looking specifically for food or skincare based products across the US. And with that, we provide sales support. So these last two offerings are above and beyond the general admission to Purposely Rise. Those are cost ads support within Purposely. But the fact that we have those and that you can say really be able to tailor it down to I'm looking for this for skincare products, we can curate that list specifically for you and provide a sales associate to help connect with those, who knows, maybe 2,000 different retailers across the US to really move the needle and try to get you conversations and into the door or onto the websites of those different retailers. So, and I just want to share a couple of success stories with Purposely. So the first one is around, I can't see it now, but this honey company based out of Mexico. So their honey is more around a process of health honey. So they came and you don't know what to expect when you're entering a new market, but they have seen multiple sellouts on our website because they took the approach of being in the health space, of using the health supportive benefits of honey, and that really resonated with the Purposely consumer base. And they've added more SKUs, so they've a true success story, of being able to increase your brand and also increase the awareness and SKUs within your profile when you know and are listening to your customers to be able to create and grow the business based off of the demand. And the next one is ORX Salt. So this is a little bit of a different story where this company is actually out of South Africa, and they are a massive brand in South Africa. Like you'll find them in all the grocery stores across the country. And they decided to enter the US market through a partnership with Whole Foods. So in doing that, you'd think, massive brand coming to the US, Whole Foods, it's going to be an immediate success. She's been successful, but not to the degree I think at which she's expected based off of her success in South Africa. But in that, she was able to learn from her consumers and from what the retail environment was telling her that her salt in South Africa was positioned as a flavoring because the salt that's being used for flavor. So she has salt, pepper, and different types of salt, like for barbecue and in different instances. But we're in the US, what people were looking for, her product was around health benefits. So she was able to recognize that and then position her business or start to position her business in a different way to be able to better attract those customers. So it's, again, the methodology is being open and able to listening to the different opportunities that your products can present in the US market. So lastly, points of recap. So ultimately, the US is a lucrative market with significant opportunities for Caribbean businesses. Success requires understanding consumer behavior, compliance, and a solid strategy. And ultimately, you are meeting customers where they are. So in terms of next steps, I would encourage you to register for and pay for our upcoming Purposely Rise webinars, and then also schedule a consultation to discuss your US market entry strategy with us. So it looks like Sandy, hey, is here. Are you able to unmute yourself? Opening it up to Q&A, but I also want to just say thank you for everyone who has shown up today and was interested in learning an introductory course on entering the US market. And I appreciate your time.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Sydney, for facilitating this session. I think we're, from a USAID CAPA's perspective, happy to have been able to collaborate with you to do this introductory webinar. There are some critical next steps that will follow. From our vantage point, we intend to, and I'm seeing a few names online that we are supporting and will continue to support. And we're also looking for those exporters, agro-processors, businesses that have the opportunity, the capacity, the products almost ready for shelf, who is able to successfully compete in a niche market in the US, to provide them with that extra support to get there. So this session today was to sort of introduce what is possible through Purposely and Purposely Rise. And we're most grateful that you were able to facilitate that. So it's not, I think, a time for me to speak. I really thoroughly enjoyed the presentation. My camera was off, but I really enjoyed the presentation. And it's really open now to the businesses that are online to ask questions or seek feedback based on what you have presented.
Well, thank you, Sandy. All right, guys, anybody have any questions? I think, hold on. See, have there been any messages in the chat? Oh, that's my message. Anybody have any questions or comments? Please don't hesitate to ask. I think you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Hi, a more comment. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was quite informative actually, and I really did appreciate you doing that list of myths, because some of it was like, oh, okay, all right, so that was debunked. Okay. So it was really, really informative, really informative. We are in I should say we normally deal with fresh fruit, but we're looking at, other options. And as we are going along, looking at those options in terms of how we deal with our fruit, we are looking at the different markets. So what you presented today, and within the time in which you presented it, I found it to be quite informative. I'm just hoping that I get this PowerPoint and I'm like, oh my God, it's so many notes I needed to take. I can't take these notes fast enough, Oh, it was really, really good. So we really do appreciate it. Really, really and truly. Thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. What was your name again? And name of your
My name,
business?
we are regional aqua farms, and even though we say aqua farms, we are
Okay.
actually producers of dragon fruit and going into crayfish as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. No, wonderful. It's nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any? Oh, I see a couple. Is it
Oh,
only?
I just got a message. It's not typed in the chat, but I'm being WhatsApp here.
Okay.
The exporter is asking, how do you typically arrange support? Is there a and she's asking, is there a package that they can choose from, or is it, you're in and you're in, or can they pick and choose the sort of support that they want?
Yeah, so we do offer packages. So I'll go back to, uh-oh, where'd it go? Sorry, one second. We do offer packages. So specifically around this training, we do have upcoming trainings on January 28th and February 4th, specific to this audience, around market intelligence in the USA and business development in the USA. And we've curated those at special prices. They are at 105, if I'm not mistaken, 105 USD per course, or a discounted rate if you do both. And what that allows you to do is because and it's tied to in partnership with Purposely to give you access for your products if they're ready to the distribution system and e-commerce access within the Purposely platform. And we're tying those two together. So when you were on the platform, you're not going in blind because we felt that if you just give a business access without the complete training, we wouldn't be doing you justice or service without understanding how to create those different partnerships in the US, understanding how to be able to search for consumer data or information to really be able to market and brand your product in the best way possible as you're attracting US consumers. So we have those specific trainings available in the next couple of weeks for specifically tailored for this audience. We also do we also can do consulting, and we also will be doing, follow-up trainings throughout the year that are part of our Purposely Rise initiative. So that will be, more courses on specifics on entering the U.S. market, um, how to engage with consumers, specifically around branding, around marketing. So we do offer a plethora of courses throughout the year. But if you're looking for tailored solutions, please contact me, and we can definitely have a conversation and see what we can create that would work best for you. If none of that is what you're looking for.
There is also two questions in the chat. How does one get to the US market? And is the support from Purposely and Purposely Rise limited to agro processors, or can it also take care of fresh produce?
How does one get to the US market? That's a loaded question. I mean, there's I'm not sure where to start with that. So again, I would go back to the presentation and how does one get to the US market? I would say it starts with one, do you have a product? Do you have a product? Is it ready? Does it meet the regulations of the US? Because if it doesn't, that's definitely a good place to start because before you can even come and test and see, you have to meet with certain regulation qualifications to come. So cool, you've met that. What happens next? Who are you looking for? Make sure you pull up that slide. So again, here we go. So who are you looking for? Who is your target market? From there, okay, great. Where does that person, or is it a retailer? Is it direct to consumer, or is it a business where you want to come to the US and do pop-ups, do direct markets? Because that is massive also. I don't want to downplay that because it can be expensive because of travel, but there are businesses who will travel around the US following the massive markets that exist from coast to coast. or are you looking to come and sell at trade so because you want to do wholesale? So I think really understanding where you understand the opportunity and who your target market is will really define your path into the country. And then the other question, is it only for agro processing or also fresh produce? Is that a question for more so will purposely have that within their platform, fresh produce, or does it just mean in general in terms of access or entry into the US?
No, I think it's specific to the purposely platform. Can you facilitate fresh produce, or is it mainly just agro-processed products and
I believe
other manufactured value-added products?
I believe at this time it's manufactured products, but that's not to say in the future that we wouldn't be able or available to do that because everything it's about shelf life, timing, and all those. So for now, it's just it's consumer product goods, manufactured products.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I have a question, actually
Yes.
two or three.
Okay.
So my name is Princess Cuthbert, and I'm the owner and founder of Essence of Herbs.
Okay.
So we manufacture cosmetics and also other product that you take internally. The thing is that, sad to say, most of my raw materials I imported from the US, especially
Okay.
where the cosmetics is concerned.
Okay.
Um, my newest product, and this is what I want to ask. I don't know how it would be in the US market because I only introduced it here in Guyana, I think was last month or the month before. So it's horrible tea drops. So
Okay.
I did look up on Amazon and saw that someone was doing it, and just one particular person, but the way in which she branded it looked like multiple person is doing it, but it's different from mine's. Reason being that mine's is in a gummy form, so you can
Oh.
make the tea or you can chew it if you desire, but it's
Okay.
strictly herbs.
Okay.
So I want to know what if the US will welcome something like that. I would normally go to Miami but I haven't gone in 2 years
Okay.
for this expo that they would normally have.
Hmm.
I went there like about 3 times, but I haven't gone there. I want to go there this year by the
Okay.
grace of the Almighty. But I'm skeptical in terms of how they would welcome it. The
Okay.
fact that um, some of the herbs are from here and some
Hmm.
of the herbs is what I import from the US from a company name, I think it's herb.com. They sell organic herbs.
Okay.
And in terms of the branding,
Okay.
I didn't get to attend the platform for branding. I don't know if my branding is up to date in terms of my labeling.
Okay. No, I mean, those are, so I'll answer the first question that you had. Was there any more? Or was that all, Princess?
No, that's all. I just want
That
to
was
know
all.
the fact that they would be open to me because of the
Okay.
fact that not all of my raw materials are from here in the Caribbean, but some are imported from the US.
Right. I don't think that would be an issue at all. And I would say, why wouldn't they be interested in what you have to sell? And I don't think you can know or make that assumption until you put it in front of people and they give you feedback. Because it sounds like you are already selling this where you are. And if it's being well received, there's a good chance that it could be well received somewhere else in the US, especially in the Florida market, right? A big hotspot for Caribbean products, Caribbean people. So I think that's a perfect market to test it in. And then in terms of branding, I think that's a conversation that we could probably have at another time where you can maybe send me what you've done and I can give you feedback. But again, the best test for that is putting that in front of your potential target market and seeing if they're interested or not, and them giving you their feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other times that you were in Miami at this expo, did you bring your products, or you just were there as a visitor?
No, I brought my products, but I used to do it in tea bags, whereas you use the herbs in the tea
Okay.
bag. But after doing some research and the way in which they make the tea bags and stuff like that,
Mhm.
you try to move away because I'm all for health. I'm a cancer survivor for 9 years. And
Okay.
so all
That's
my
amazing.
products that I make, and so if it's not healthy, I don't make it.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I would say you can even talk about that innovation when you go to Miami. So that you started in tea bags, now you're doing gummies because you saw that it had better results. So I think telling that full story and understanding what type of person would be interested in buying your product, putting that all together, I think that it would be, yeah, I think it just logically makes sense for the next time that you go is to present them, to show up with your innovative new offering.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome and good luck.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. So after this, I will be sending out a survey to everyone and a thank you message for everyone taking the time out of their day to join us. And then also a little tidbit about the upcoming trainings that we have. Again, those are going to be on the 28th of January and then on February 4th, both Tuesdays, where we really get to dive into more around understanding market intelligence in the US as you understand how to find your target consumer, and then business development about creating partnerships and expanding your network and ultimately driving growth across the US. And again, with your purchase, that includes a 1-year e-commerce subscription on Purposely, which includes a creator profile and an e-commerce store with fulfillment services, and a 30-minute strategy session with me to really help to refine and define your go-to-market strategy. So at that, I want to say thank you, Sandy. Do you have any final words? Ricardo, I see you're here. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, but again, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, everyone on the call, for your time. I'm glad it sounds like it was beneficial, or the insight was helpful for you all. So I appreciate it.
No final words from me other than to say thank you, Sydney, for facilitating this session, and thank you to the businesses from across the region that was able to join today. This we consider to be an installment in strengthening the relationship and in driving business, driving the opportunity for businesses to access the US market and to make more money, to be more successful. So we're pleased, and certainly we're going to have an opportunity to speak afterwards as to how we can move forward using this as the momentum. So thank you, Sydney, and thank you to the colleagues across the region that joined this call this morning.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, everybody, have a great week. Stay warm. Okay.
Pleasure. Happy New Year to everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.